All right, AP, you ready to find out how Candace knew that BB was
Yes.
misrepresenting the letter?
Yes.
Here's her evidence, AP. She says, I knew. Remember, she keeps saying no. She knows it's a fact, blah, blah, blah.
I had doubts. I had my doubts, and I thought to myself, "What doubts, man?" No, I had my
Doubts.
doubts, and I thought that she's just that she's a big liar who just spins a narrative. But after seeing this, with her also putting this right out there, she's insane, man. She's not mentally well.
Grace and peace, everybody. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the title. Apostate Prophet and David Woods have completely destroyed Candace Owens' narratives. Narrative upon narrative upon narrative. They just keep destroying them and taking them apart. So let's go ahead and see what they had to say about the infamous letter. Let's go.
All right, AP, you ready to find out how Candace knew
Yes.
that BB was misrepresenting the letter?
Yes.
All right. All right, here we go. Here's her evidence, AP. She says, I knew. Remember, she keeps saying no. She knows it's a fact, blah, blah, blah. I knew BB was lying. Keep in mind, lying about the letter. We're going to look at the letter. I would love to see where he lied about the letter. But anyway, she says, I knew BB was lying about letter in May because Charlie would message me his concerns about Israel and send me his tweets he published to that effect. His tweets where he's concerned about Israel. Like I said, we never for a single second stopped being friends, and pursuing this lie will only further embarrass Zionists, this lie. So she knew BB was lying, and pursuing this lie will further embarrass Zionists. What's all this about? Lying about the letter. Lying about the letter, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, and then she shares the smoking gun. This tweet. I mean, not this tweet, this text exchange from Charlie Kirk. So we have here the start of one of his tweets. We're going to read his tweet, ladies and gentlemen, because it's cut off. So Sarah Milgram and Yoran Lishinsky were two beautiful young people with their whole lives ahead of them. Their murder was senseless, evil, and horrifying, and the man who did it should be punished to the maximum extent possible. But I must push back against one thing. All over, and it's cut off, but we'll go ahead and go to it because we want to get to the bottom of this. And then she says, great tweet. And then he says, he's got praying hands. And she says, speech censorship is coming to America. And he says, it totally is. AP, that was the evidence. That was the evidence that Bibi Netanyahu is lying. Now, let me tell you how Candace reads this, right? So again, we'll
What the hell, man?
Yep, we'll check out we'll check out the full tweet and what Charlie Kirk was responding to, because Charlie Kirk was responding to something there. He was responding to Dave Smith. Charlie Kirk was responding to Dave Smith. Dave Smith was condemning violence carried out against just random people over people's hatred of Israel and stuff like that. So Dave Smith was saying the correct thing. Charlie was responding to people who were attacking Dave Smith and blaming him. And so he tweeted this. And then Candace, this is the smoking gun. This is how Candace knows that Netanyahu is lying about the letter. I knew Bibi was lying about the letter. I'll tell you how Candace is reading this. I knew Bibi was lying about the letter in May because Charlie would message me his concerns about Israel. So she thinks this is Charlie messaging her about his concerns about Israel. Right? That's how she's interpreting this. And send me tweets he published on that effect, to that effect. So this is the example of a tweet where Charlie is seriously concerned about Israel. And so this is how she knows that Netanyahu's lying about the letter that we're about to read. And so what's Charlie doing here? Again, we'll read it. But he's commenting on two people who were killed. Two people were killed. And Dave Smith condemned the killing. People said, you got blood on your hands too, because you spread all this nonsense. Charlie responds, hey, basically, let's not cut out freedom of speech and blame people over speech if they weren't actually encouraging violence and so on. That's what he says. Candace interprets this as Netanyahu is trying to shut down free speech in America. And I'm seriously concerned about Netanyahu. Now, AP, you see anything about Netanyahu anywhere?
No.
Yeah, because there's nothing about it. Have you ever seen Netanyahu say, American free speech laws need to be changed so that people can't criticize Israel or me or anything else? You ever seen anything like that?
Nope.
No, I haven't. That's what Candace is seeing here. She's saying Charlie is panicking over Netanyahu trying to end free speech in America and make it so that no one is allowed to criticize Israel or the government of Israel. She somehow sees that here.
Okay, she's a lunatic.
She's a freaking lunatic. And keep in mind, when she was saying, and I know for a fact, and I know, and this is a fact, this is what it was based on. She's seeing here in this text message, I'm super concerned about Netanyahu. Now, let's go ahead and check it out here. So here was Dave Smith after 2 people were killed. What was that situation exactly, AP?
The situation was that a terrorist went to an event where people working at the Israeli embassy were attending, and pulled a gun and murdered 2 people who actually turned out to be Messianic Jewish.
So killed 2 Messianic Jews, just trying to kill random Jews. And then you had Dave Smith, who's been a pretty harsh critic of Israel. And he wants to make it clear that he does not approve of violence. And so he says, the murder of those 2 Israeli embassy staff members is a horrific tragedy. Anyone who thinks that is standing up for the poor Palestinians is insane. You're actually spitting in their faces with an act like that. Senseless violence does nothing but escalate this very dangerous situation. So that's Dave Smith, right? Now, people responded to Dave Smith. This is what Charlie is reacting to. He's not responding to Dave Smith. He's responding to the people who are responding to Dave Smith, because look at what they say. Shut up, Dave. You helped promote the same BS lies that this clown terrorist thought he was defending. You're not a political analyst. It wasn't senseless violence. It was thought out, methodical, and encouraged by vile accounts like yours. You and your like-minded people spreading blood libels are responsible for this murder, Dave. Blood libels always end in blood. I can promise you the vast majority of the poor Palestinians love the killing of these Messianic Jews. You just don't understand them enough. On this stage, where the coffins of the Jewish babies and the Gazans came to celebrate it, whole families and the children here praise their terrorist government, Hamas. So anyway, that's how people were responding. They were saying, hey, you're sitting here condemning the violence, but you're the one who keeps spouting all the theories about Jews, and so you are responsible. That's what they were saying. And to an extent, I would agree. If you're pushing all these, if you're making Jews sound as evil as possible, and someone says, well, I got to go take these guys out or something like that. No, if you're not encouraging violence, or if you condemn the violence, you're not responsible. I'd say you play a role in an environment or something like that. There are violent people out there. There are people saying globalize the Intifada. They're talking about a violent uprising and stuff like this. With that said, if you're just condemning things and you're honest and you're accurate and stuff like that, I'd say you're not responsible. You're not responsible for the violence. But anyway, everyone blasting away at Dave Smith there. Everyone blasting away at Dave Smith. Charlie actually kind of defends him and say, hey, if basically the direction you guys want to go in, if the direction you guys want to go in is silencing people, do not go that route. So do not silence critics like Dave Smith. So Charlie here says, Sarah Milgram and Yoram Leshinsky were 2 beautiful young people with their whole lives ahead of them. Their murder was senseless, evil, and horrifying, and the man who did it should be punished to the maximum extent possible. But keep in mind, he's the one who got violent. He says, but I must push back against one thing. All over X, I see claims that some people have blood on their hands, simply because they've made tweets attacking Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israel government, or the war on Gaza. So think about what he's saying here. Just because people on Twitter have attacked Benjamin Netanyahu or the Israeli government or the war in Gaza, people are saying these people have blood on their hands. Guess what? I agree with Charlie here. Just because someone is criticizing the war or the Israeli government does not mean you advocated violence.
I partly agree with him.
Yeah, I mean, I already said it, but if you're posting like deranged conspiracy theories, I don't know enough about Dave Smith to know what's being referred to when they're saying he has blood on his hands. If you're posting deranged conspiracy theories where Jews are controlling everything and they're taking over the world and I have to say the sort of stuff Candace Owens pushes, but they're evil, they're behind everything, they're trying to destroy you and stuff like that. Yeah, when someone says, "Oh gosh, I have to go take out some of these people," you are helping create that environment, stuff like that. Again, I don't know enough about Dave Smith. I see lots of people complaining about him. The most recent thing I was saying was he was basically calling all the people who are blaming Israel for the murder of Charlie Kirk. He was saying, you guys are nuts. So he's not as insane as Candace Owens. But
no, he's not. He's not as insane. He's just he is one of the people who like to misrepresent Israel and misrepresent what is going on right now, and he likes to ignore evidence as well, which is why I would say that he lies on occasion. But yeah, he's not as insane as Candace.
Okay, so Dave Smith aside, simply because someone has attacked Benjamin Netanyahu, saying he's terrible, and the Israeli government or the war in Gaza, I would agree with him that doesn't mean you have blood on your hands. Why? I mean, you've got like half of Israel is attacking Netanyahu and the government and the war in Gaza. You wouldn't say they're responsible for people getting killed and so on. So anyway, it's going to depend. It's going to depend on what you're saying and whether you're speaking honestly and so on. But anyway, he says no, just because, in other words, just because you've attacked Netanyahu or the Israeli government or the war in Gaza does not mean you have blood on your hands for an attack against two people. He says, I just came back from the UK. Every day there, 30 people are arrested for social media posts the government says are dangerous or offensive because they oppose things like mass migration or Islam. In the UK, people are arrested for silently praying or holding signs outside abortion clinics. There are people who want that same tyranny here. People who oppose, in Candace's minds, this is Netanyahu. Netanyahu wants a tyranny where no one is allowed to criticize him. That's what he's fighting for, although I just don't see it. But that's what Candace is seeing in this tweet. So he says, there are people who want that same tyranny here. People who oppose freedom of speech will always claim we need to act to prevent hate or stop violence. We must always oppose that. Just because an idea is provocative or even offensive does not make it violent. Speech is not violence, only violence is. So he's putting out a warning saying, hey, if you're condemning people for criticizing Israel and saying that's violence, be careful, because there are people who would want to say, hey, since speech is violence, we need to make speech illegal. We need to get rid of the First Amendment and so on. And we need to make it illegal to criticize the war in Gaza and so on. And he's saying, take the UK as a warning. You don't want the government to be able to tell you what dangerous speech is, because guess what? Guess what happens? If you let the government have that power, the government can say, you know what, your speech is dangerous, so you're not allowed to say it anymore. Once you do that, guess what? Every government's just going to use that to their advantage. Republicans would use that to outlaw speech that's critical of Republicans. Democrats would use that law to outlaw speech that's critical. Everyone would use it to their advantage, and all of a sudden, everyone is finding out that they're not allowed to say even completely true things. So he's saying the gist of the message is, hey, don't let this turn into blocking your right to speak. If you want to criticize Israel, criticize Israel. The government should not be stopping you from doing that. Candace Owens interpreted this as Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to block people from being legally allowed to criticize Israel or the war in Gaza. And Charlie Kirk is really worried about this. Charlie Kirk is really worried about Netanyahu ending free speech in America. And this is basically calling him out. That's how she interpreted all of this.
She is.
Yeah, that's his crazy word.
She's completely insane, man.
Completely, utterly, totally insane.
Where do you get that
now
from,
that we've read
though?
it, ladies and gentlemen, now that we've read it in context, now that we've seen it in context, this is how she knew. Because keep in mind, she already said she knew, and it was a fact in her live stream. She said it was a fact. And look at what she says now. Now that we've read it, now that we've read what Charlie Kirk actually said. So Dave Smith says, I condemn this violence. I don't support violence. I criticize. People said, yeah, but you play a role because you're stirring up everyone against Jews. And so, look, someone did it. And Charlie Kirk stepped in and said, guys, do not start blocking speech. You need to be allowed to criticize, even if it's something offensive. Do not let the government take your freedom of speech. And Candace Owens sees this and says, I knew Bibi was lying about letter in May because Charlie would message me his concerns about Israel. Where was that concern about Israel?
Yeah.
And send me his tweets he published to that effect. Again, she interpreted that as Charlie being concerned about Israel. He was concerned about people in the United States of America making laws against freedom of speech. That's what he was concerned about. And send me his tweets he published to that effect. Like I said, we never for a single second stopped being friends, and pursuing this lie will only further embarrass Zionists. What lie? The lie about his letter being pro-Israel. She's 100% confident that the letter, if you read it, is condemning Israel for trying to silence Americans and end the First Amendment of the United States of America. Charlie caught on, and that is why he was killed, unless he was killed by his fellow Turning Point people who were upset that he was going to go on tour with Candace in her imagination.
Wow.
She's completely insane.
You think?
I had doubts. I had my doubts, and I thought to myself, "What doubts, man?" No, I had my doubts, and I thought that she's just that she's a big liar who just spins a narrative. But after seeing this, with her also putting this right out there, she's insane, man. She's not mentally well.
Shout out to AP. Shout out to David Woods. And I just wanted to let them tease that out, because one of the things I think Candace is kind of betting on is that she'll say something and nobody will actually check the homework. She'll just turn in the paper and nobody will actually check the actual work. or actually read it or run it through spell check or run it through AI checker or anything like that. She just is betting that nobody's going to do it. And shout out to David Woods and AP for actually doing the work of showing what the actual original tweet was about, and that it had nothing to do with what Candace said it was. But this is a common occurrence. I want to know what y'all think about it down below. Thank you so much for rocking with us. Thank you so much for your support of the channel. Thank you for helping us hit 65,000 likes this month. Go ahead and hit that like button. Help your boy out. Thank you so much. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Witt Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment, because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.